Good afternoon and good evening to all in presence and online. On behalf of the academic community of Pontifical Faculty of Educational Sciences, Ausilium, Rome, I stand here with great joy to welcome each of you, especially the speakers of the day, with a very relevant theme: formation to interreligious dialogue, starting from the presentation of the book written by Jyoti. We are honored by the presence of Dr. Angela Ales Bello, Professor Emeritus, Pontifical Lateran University, President of Centro Italiano di Ricerche Fenomenologiche, Rome, as the moderator of the presentation. Dr. Michael Amaladoss and Dr. Kuttiyanimattathil have joined from India as speakers of the day. We are grateful to you for your willingness in sharing your vast knowledge. The world has become a global village. People belonging to other religious traditions are becoming more and more our neighbors. Knowledge and information in interreligious dialogue can greatly contribute to living in peace and harmony in such context. Also because in many parts of the world we see the lack of such formation that creates a situation of civil clashes. It is better to start the formation with adolescents because today's young people will be the architects of tomorrow's society. The Pontifical Faculty of Educational Sciences, Ausilium, fosters and promotes research in the field of educational sciences and trains researchers, teachers, and professionals at various levels in the field of education. Ausilium is a milestone of the path of women empowerment. It envisions also a future where people live in harmony, peace, and mutual respect. Placing interreligious dialogue right within the vision statement of the Institute, we are saying that we do take seriously our efforts in mitigating struggles and building up a world in continuous interreligious dialogue. This book by Jyoti sinks into the texture of this endeavor, creating a culture of dialogue for all. Thank you. And good afternoon to all.
I am going to speak. Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I am very glad to be here, and I am grateful for the kind invitation to moderate this meeting, in which we will speak about Professor Sister Jyothi's book. This book is, the title of this book, we can see it, is A Formation to Interreligious Dialogue, a theological approach informing the adolescents to create a culture of dialogue. And it is not just a book, but really an encyclopedia, as Professor Dr. Michael Amaladoss wrote on it. And in this book, the question of interreligious dialogue, born inside the Christian perspective of life, is analyzed in all its aspects, starting from the biblical, patristic, ecclesial vision, that is also from a theological approach to it in contemporary theology. For example, Henri de Lubac, Urs von Balthasar, Karl Rahner. And then pinpointing not only the Western context, but also the proposal coming from the Church in India. The last part is dedicated to the question of what is necessary to do to spread this dialogue, and the reply is very important, because it is true that we have to start from the formation of the youth all over the world. Here, the importance of the formation is underscored And this pedagogical approach is absolutely necessary as the air is indispensable to life. Otherwise, the human being is left alone in a dangerous situation. But let us listen to what Sister Josmi Joseph can say to us in her presentation. Please, Professor Sister Josmi Joseph, give your presentation.
Good afternoon and good evening to all. Before my presentation, I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to God Almighty for His constant presence in my life, to Reverend Mother Chiara Cassuola, the Superior General and the newly appointed Chancellor of the Pontifical Faculty of Educational Sciences Auxilium, to Reverend Sister Piera Ruffinato, Dean of the Faculty of Educational Sciences Auxilium, to Reverend Sister Yvonne Raincoat, for the former Mother General, for her encouragement and guidance, to Reverend Sister Maria del Carmen Canales, the Superior of the Pre-Province Maria Madre della Chiesa, Reverend Sister Runida Borgia, the General Counselor for Youth Pastoral, Reverend Sister Celine Jacob, the Visiting General Counselor, Reverend Sister Lucy Rose Urrigale, the newly nominated Provincial of Bangalore, Sister Anna Troti and community at Casa Valse, Sister Teresa de Jesus and community at Auxilium, Sister Bernadette Chongo and community at Madre Mazzarello, and Sister Rose Pingrove and community at Casa Canta, and all my sisters and friends for your constant accompaniment and encouragement. On this occasion, I also remember with gratitude the Dharmaram Vidyakshetram academic community who helped me to realize my doctoral research and the publication of the same in a shortest time span. Reverend Dr. Professor Angela Les Bello for her presence and words of encouragement. Also to Dr. Amaladoss and Dr. Jose Kuttiyanimattathil for their accompaniment and presence today. I shall begin with two stories. Biographical anecdotes triggered curiosity, colored my vision and formed my convictions, and coined the reason behind the theme, formation to interreligious dialogue. The first one is from the 6th December 1992 of the demolition of Babari Masjid, an ancient Muslim monument and mosque. Even though it happened in the north part of India, the violent and the fearful waves had reached our small village in Kerala. I sensed fear even among the neighbors and among my own classmates because we belonged to various religious traditions. In the second incident in the recent past is one of the casual conversation with the animator of the oratory here in Italy when I was asked the following question: how is it possible to live in harmony with other religious traditions? The research and the book, Formation to Interreligious Dialogue, a theological approach in forming the adolescents to create a culture of dialogue, is a response to these two personal experiences. The first event took place on Indian soil that speaks of a history down the centuries where Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, as well as several tribal communities have lived together with cultural and existential dialogue with each other. At the deepest level, interreligious dialogue is always a dialogue of redemption because it seeks to discern, illuminate and comprehend better the signs of the age-long dialogue which God communicates with humanity. The research is relevant because it would pitch into instruct and form individuals to avoid a violent explosion in the name of religion and learn to bring peace to society. The Catholic Church visualized an interreligious dialogue that goes beyond the facts of courteous conversation regarding one's own faith. Formation of the adolescents in interreligious dialogue will make them seekers of truth. Both partners of dialogue require well-grounded knowledge of the particular religious doctrines with a sound faith supported by spiritual and personal maturity. The research questions: what type of formation to interreligious dialogue is taking place among the adolescents? What are the motivations that should encourage educators for a scientific and systematic formation to interreligious dialogue? What methodologies can we identify in order to substantiate the formative pattern for interreligious dialogue? The research methodology, descriptive and analytical methodologies used in particular part of the research, and it was supported by a participatory observation method. In the research is a fruit of an interdisciplinary approach at various levels. Limitations of the study. The present study is confined to 10 villages in the suburbs of East Bangalore. It's limited in its theoretical approach. Moreover, the growth of theological discussion within India is not all taken into consideration due to the limitation of space and time. Professor Angela Bello already have introduced it, the structure and development of the study in very much synthesized form. The first part is biblical, patristic and ecclesial vision of the formation of interreligious dialogue. Second part is interreligious dialogue as a way of living. And the third, motives in the formation to interreligious dialogue. And the fourth is the practical guidelines for a systematic formation. Going into detail, or just one or two sentences about each parts. The scriptural, patristic and ecclesial documents are scooped out for a more profound understanding of interreligious relations. It brings forth guidelines of the Catholic Church towards other major religious traditions. In the second part, the theological foundations of interreligious are explained in the light of the Apostolic Creed. That points out that interreligious dialogue is comprehensible only when one is refined in one's own religion. Kingdom-centered approach facilitates and opens to the other religious traditions in carrying the seeds of the word. The third chapter, which dealt with the motives: World Council of Churches, Pontifical Council for Interreligious Dialogue, Federation of Asian Bishops' Conferences, and the regional bishops' conferences play a dynamic role in making interreligious dialogue a way of life. Here we find also the role of Indian Christian theologians, because they build bridges between the teachings and the everyday experience of the persons. And here the second part of it, the participatory observation method, which facilitated to understand better the belief system of the adolescents. Around 300 of them were able to do this in this method. And the last part were the practical guidelines on the formation to interreligious dialogue, and gave a complete picture of the various levels for formation. The strategies and the action plans provided help to achieve this goal. These are some of the findings of the research. An authentic interreligious dialogue is possible only through a systematic formation to interreligious dialogue among adolescents. The urgency to remove irreligious attitudes such as intolerance, hostility, fear, suspicion, or indifference through the methodical formation of the young minds is the requirement of the hour. The research succeeded in getting out of the adolescents' own system of belief, challenging them to converse with other religious traditions. The research brought modifications in the outlook in understanding the meaning and purpose of the formation to interreligious dialogue. It affirmed that deeper knowledge about one's own religion would help one to prepare for a sincere dialogue. Conclusion: as educators of the future generations, there is a dire need to concentrate our attention and our best resources on the adolescents in creating a culture of dialogue. the creation of a culture of dialogue through a well-stipulated, meticulously planned and systematically implemented formation is the need of the hour. As long as religions embrace a portion of the global population, we would require those who are at the formation to engage in interreligious dialogue because the world merits a more equitable and harmonious living. The formation to interreligious dialogue is a journey both inward and outward for an individual. While it is founded on one's own personal convictions and knowledge of one's own faith and tradition, it's also open to those others which could provide a meeting place in society. An adequate and efficient formation must stand in good stead for a prosperous and peaceful society for today and tomorrow. And thank you very much. Professor
sure.
Angela,
Yes.
microphone. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I thank you very much, Sister Josmi Joseph, for this brief but very interesting presentation. And then on this occasion, we have two excellent speakers. That is Reverend Father Dr. Michael Amaladoss and Reverend Father Dr. Joseph Kuttiyanimattathil, who will help us to understand better the content of the book. Please, Professor Amaladoss is here.
Yeah, he has got some technical problems, and so one sister will read his report,
we can
what he has written.
We can begin with Father Joseph.
No, the talk is ready here, and sister will be giving the voice.
Yes, thank you. So I have to. Right.
Interreligious dialogue, practice and perspectives. Sister Josmi Jose has given us a very scholarly presentation on interreligious dialogue, a way of life, and how we can form people to live it. Having gone through her thesis, I appreciate and congratulate her for her deep study and research and her clear presentation. We have here an excellent textbook for seminaries and formation houses to initiate people to the ministry and challenges of interreligious dialogue. She has asked me not to comment on her thesis, but rather to speak about my own experience of interreligious dialogue and what I think is its future. I shall try to give you some idea of this in the 10 minutes available to me. Hopefully, it will be a brief practical complement to Sister Josmi's scholarly exposition. At home, in the village, and in the school, I grew up in a multi-religious atmosphere. But religious identity was not an issue. I practiced my religion. I saw others practicing theirs. Religious difference was taken for granted and accepted. There was mutual respect. No one either spoke or thought about it. Sweets were shared on festival days, which became almost common celebrations. There was an experiential knowledge of Hinduism. My house was next to the village temple, so I knew what was going on there, but I was only an observer. There was no interreligious tension nor dialogue. Perhaps one can call it a dialogue of life. In the Jesuit boarding school, we did celebrate the Mission Sunday every year, but that did not create any real mission awareness. In the Jesuit novitiate, in the second year, I went to a parish for 2 weeks. The parish priest, Father Ignatius Hirudayam S.J., was self-made scholar in Hinduism and Indian art and music, and was interested in promoting what we would call today inculturation. I'm speaking of the year 1954. But he did not receive any encouragement. Though I was with him only for 2 weeks, he created in me an interest in Hinduism and Indian music and the arts. I consider him as my guru. The few small efforts that he made at inculturation were not encouraged. But after the Second Vatican Council, he was able to establish an urban ashram in Chennai, Aikyalayam, Temple or Temple of Unity. There he was able to promote an Indian Christian spirituality and liturgy and also Indian theology. It was under his inspiration that I opted to spend 2 years studying Carnatic music in Chennai. Among the 100 students there, male and largely female, I was the only Christian decked up in my cassock too. Father Hirudayam used to organize interreligious dialogue meetings to get to know each other and to discuss common religious and secular issues, and sometimes also pray together using sacred texts of different religions. I was able to attend some of them, though I did not live in the ashram. But he nursed my interest in Indian culture and religions, and also in Indian theology. This was one step further from a dialogue of life to a more formal dialogue of prayer and sharing. Around November, December, Father Hirudayam used to organize a common festival of lights, linking Diwali and Christmas. We still continue this tradition. In 1965, I moved to Kurseong near Darjeeling to do my theology for 4 years. During this period, in the company of Fathers T.K. John S.J. of Patna and Thomas Nalayil S.J. of Kolkata, I spent a month visiting ashrams in the north of India, including the Himalayas, Rishikesh, Haridwar, Delhi, Vrindavan, Mathura, Patna, Varanasi, Sarnath, and Bodh Gaya. We were able to dialogue with the ashramites in all these places and also meet some of whose deep spiritual experience could be seen in their bright faces, especially their eyes. After all these experiences and after some higher studies in Paris, I became a teacher of theology in Tiruchirappalli and Delhi, where I did try to promote among the students an interest in interreligious dialogue and inculturation, and organize an occasional meeting. The editorship of Jyoti Review for a few years also offered me an occasion to promote this interest through articles. I was also active in the same areas in the many seminars conducted by Father D.S. Amaladoss at the International Biblical, Catechetical and Liturgical Center in Bengaluru. After retirement as a professor in Delhi, I landed in Aikyalayam, Chennai. I managed to get the center affiliated to the University of Madras as a research center which could prepare and present PhD students to the university. For various reasons, the center was asked to shift to the campus of Loyola College in 2005. Formal interreligious meetings with press, etc., are no longer held. The ashram atmosphere is somehow not there in the research center. but we have seminars on socio-political and religio-cultural themes now and then, and they always attract multi-religious participation. We have a network of more than 100 persons of all religions interested in the work that the center is doing. I am, however, happy to acknowledge that similar interreligious meetings are held in many other centers across India by Jesuits and others. In the south, Samiksha Ashram in Kaladi, Kerala, with Father Sebastian Payanadath is an example. It may be clear that though I have been involved in interreligious dialogue, I have been doing too many other things, including teaching and administration at various levels, both during my doctoral studies in Paris and my involvement in administration in the Society of Jesus for 12 years in Rome. I have been able to encourage interreligious dialogue initiatives also in collaboration with Asian bishops. The future of interreligious dialogue. Some decades ago, in mission theology, there used to be an axiom, no salvation outside the church. The goal of mission then was to reach out to the members of other religions and make them Christian as far as possible. In this way, one was saving souls. Dialogue was not even mentioned at that time as an element of mission. But after the Second Vatican Council, there has been a slow development in our view of other religions, which became more and more positive, finding good and holy elements in them. Dialogue with them became the first step towards mission, seen as proclamation of the good news and conversion of the people to the church. While the mission perspective is still there is a growing tendency to look at other religions more positively and seek to collaborate with them in witnessing to the presence and actions of God in the world and our collaboration with the believers of other religions in the process of building up the kingdom of God. The goal of mission was no longer the church, but the kingdom of God, and dialogue with all people of goodwill, religious and non-religious, became the way to the kingdom. Interreligious dialogue, they becomes a means of collaboration in view of promoting the values of kingdom like freedom, fellowship, and justice in the area of economic, social, political, and religious areas of life. The focus of interreligious dialogue gets widened and deepened in the process of building up an interreligious community. It is no longer narrowly religious, but becomes an element of a wider social dialogue which reaches out to all people of goodwill, some of whom may not be religious. The dialogue then becomes value-based, justified by the various religions and non-religious ideologies. Perhaps we may have to move from interreligious to inter-ideological dialogue. Father Michael Amaladoss, S.J.
I thank you very much for this presentation. Father Michael was not with us, but we have here Reverend Father Jose Kuttiyanimattathil. It is not easy for me to pronounce it, but it's a very long but very fine surname, I think so. He is a Catholic, a Roman Catholic priest belonging to the congregation of the Salesians of Don Bosco, and he completed the master's degree in philosophy in India in and then licentiate degree and doctorate in theology at the Gregorian University in Rome. So he is a Roman to some extent. And his doctoral dissertation was entitled Practice and Theology of Interreligious Dialogue, the Trajectory Undertaken by the Indian Church since Vatican II. He has taught philosophy and theology in various institutes in India and abroad, and he served the provincial of the Sacred Heart province Bengaluru of the Salesians Don Bosco for 6 years, and as rector of Kristu Jyoti College for 9 years. His main fields of research are philosophy and systematic theology, more specifically the philosophy and theology of religions, philosophical and theological anthropology, and Christology. He also does auxiliary research in Salesian spirituality and psychological topics. He's authored or edited 24 books and has published over 100 articles, various journals and magazines. His most recent works are Salesian Vocation, A Call to Gifted Life and Ministry, Bengaluru, in 2020, and Formations Towards a Psycho-Sexual and Celibate Integration, Manual for Me, 5 volumes, edited with another philosopher, and these books were published in Bengaluru in 1991. Currently, he is serving as a member of the Formation Department of the Salesian of Don Bosco, Rome, and Formation Delegate of the South Asian region of the Salesian of Don Bosco. At the same time, he continues to lecture in the Jyoti College in Bengaluru. I thank you very much for your presence, and please let us know what is your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, for that very long introduction and for all the effort that you made to pronounce my name very correctly. It's correct. Thank you so much. Respected moderator Angela Alice Bello, respected Piera Rufinato, Reverend Father Michael Amaladoss, Reverend Sister Josmi Jos, and all you dear participants in this presentation. I consider it really a privilege and an honor to be invited to make an intervention at the presentation of the book of Dr. Josmi Jos, titled Formation to Interreligious Dialogue, a Theological Approach in Forming the Adolescents to Create a Culture of Dialogue. I would like to begin my presentation by bringing before you an incident narrated very recently by Don Angel Fernandez Artime, the Rector Major of the Salesians. He titled his narration, A Carpet at Waldoco. He says, I quote, I wish to share with you something that I myself witnessed a few weeks ago and to touched my heart, filling it with serene peace. I was in Waldoco at 3 in the afternoon, passing through the courtyard when something, or better, someone attracted my attention. I focused my attention and saw that a young person was standing in the small portico under Don Bosco's room. He was praying. I saw that it was a Muslim who had laid his carpet on the ground directed towards Mecca and was kneeling and standing up, offering up his prayers according to his religion. He was communicating not with his God, but with the one God in the way and manner that his religion expresses it. He was very focused on his prayer, and he cared little who passed by or not. And surely he did not realize that I was contemplating him, for I did so without disturbing him and with great respect. I thought it was beautiful that Valdoco and the portico where Don Bosco had stood so many times with his boys and where they had prayed was the same portico that now received and gave a home to the prayer of the young Muslim. God's smile is a smile shining on all his sons and daughters of our world. We are all the fruit of his love and his creation. I narrated this incident to emphasize the fact that people of other religions are not living somewhere far away in some countries in Africa and Asia. They are right in our midst. They are right in our house at Valdoco, at Mornese, at Rome. We know that the Mosque of Rome is the largest mosque in the Western world. This raises a lot of questions for us, questions both practical and theological. For example, is it appropriate for me to allow a Muslim to spread his carpet and pray in the courtyard of the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians? Or should I tell him politely to go elsewhere and pray? The Rector Major in his narration highlighted the fact that this Muslim was communicating not with his God, but with the one God in the way and manner that his religion expresses it. Do people of all religions pray to the same God? Are Allah, Brahma, and God the Father the same? How do I look at other gods and the people of other religions? It is in this context that Dr. Josmi's book is of very particular significance. A special merit of this book is that it brings together praxis and theory, lived experience and intellectual quest, empirical research and theological reflection. Today, the Church does not question the need for interreligious dialogue. According to Pope St. John Paul II, ecumenical a veritable vocation for the Church. Contact, dialogue and cooperation with the followers of other religions is a task which the Second Vatican Council bequeathed to the whole Church as a duty and a challenge. And in Fratelli Tutti, Pope Francis says, each one of us is called to be an artisan of peace by uniting and not by dividing, by extinguishing hatred and not holding on to it, by opening paths of dialogue and not by constructing new walls. So, according to the popes, interreligious dialogue is a duty. It is a vocation of every Christian. So it is not something optional, it's a duty, it is our vocation. If it is the vocation of every Christian, if it is the duty of every Christian, then every Christian must be formed for interreligious dialogue. And the earlier the training begins, the better. Because the young people are today living with the people of other religions. People of other religions are our next door neighbors. They are our classmates, our teammates, they are our friends. This is the main point that Dr. Josmi is making in her book, that, I quote, formation to interreligious dialogue has become the need of the day. The best place to begin formation to interreligious dialogue is the formal educational institutions. That is, with the young people, with adolescents. All of us can agree with Dr. Josmi on that. In fact, the document Dialogue in Truth and Charity says educational institutions, both private and public, offer opportunities of nurturing interreligious dialogue and peaceful coexistence. Incidentally, Dr. Josmi also suggests that pontifical universities should become promoters of interreligious dialogue. And I think it is quite providential that she has been appointed a member of the Pontifical Faculty of Educational Sciences, where she can work to make her dream come true. While formation towards dialogue is needed for all, I would like to make a few suggestions regarding formation towards a dialogue for those preparing to be religious and priests. First, developing the human qualities of the formees. Be it in Pastores Davo Vobis or Vita Consecrata, all the documents of the Church insist that human formation is the basic foundation for all formation. We cannot be persons of dialogue if we are not good human beings. So, our formees should be helped to cultivate basic human virtues like openness to others, humility, trust, honesty, cooperation. Without these, we cannot be persons of dialogue. Second, courses on religions, theology of religions, and interreligious dialogue. Our formation houses and institutes of philosophy and theology should offer serious courses on religions, theology of religions, and interreligious dialogue. A basic knowledge of other religions will help us to clarify many doubts and overcome many prejudices that we have about other religions. Theology of other religions and theology of interreligious dialogue are rather new areas in the theological reflection of the Church. And it is a field that is still developing. Because of this, it may be difficult to offer a fully articulated theology of religions. In fact, John L. Allen Jr., a reputed journalist and a keen follower of the new trends within the Church, remarks, quote, "How to interpret religious pluralism theologically and what it implies for classic Christian doctrines like Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and the Church has been among the most agonizing subjects in Catholicism for the last 2 decades. It's a challenging field. However, that should not deter us from making the effort that is needed to bring greater clarity to this area. And that, I think, is what the book of Josmi is trying to do. Third, various treatises and their implications for interreligious dialogue. Theology of religions touches many areas like Christology, ecclesiology, pneumatology, proclamation, the attitude to other religions present in different books of the Old Testament and the New Testament, etc. As these subjects are being taught, it would be good to highlight their relevance for a theology of religions. Going a step further, at least at the licentiate level, we could think of exploring themes like interreligious Christology and interreligious ecclesiology. When we study Christology, ecclesiology with the people of other religions, listening to people of other religions, that can enrich us very much. At least at the licentiate level, I think these are efforts that we need to make in our institutes and faculties of theology and philosophy. Fourth, immersion programs. There is a saying that the cow in the book does not eat grass. There is a world of difference between what we learn from books and what we learn through lived experience. Father Michael Amaladoss in his presentation highlighted the importance of having this lived experience. So as part of the pastoral experience, it would be good to live for a few days in a family that professes another faith and to be respectfully present at the worship services of other religions. There are also many other things that could be done, like personally and respectfully reading the scriptures of other religions, familiarizing oneself with the biographies of the saints of other religions, participating in their festivals, etc. The Second Vatican Council exhorted us to enter with prudence and charity into discussion and collaboration with the members of other religions. Now it is time to form ourselves to live in peace and harmony with the people of other religions. I wish Dr. Jose all the best as she begins her service at the Pontifical Faculty of Educational Sciences, Auxilium. Thank you.
We thank you, Father Jose, Dr. Jose, for this speech. And I think that what is really important that you underscored is that all people, all religions pray the same God. This is very important. This is a key point, and that we need both theological reflection and practical actions in order to perform our duty. That is very, very important. That is also a duty in the interreligious dialogue. And I should like to say something just to express my opinion on this book and in general on this topic, because I think that from an anthropological and ethical point of view, we can notice that the human being, in the human being, we can find positive and negative attitudes. And it is our duty, I think that is a good thing, to help young people to avoid the bad inclinations that live in all of us. And which kind of inclinations? For example, prejudices, hate also against people belonging to other religion. And we have to strengthen our capacity of evaluation and of decision, which are our spiritual potencies in order to do what is good. But what is good in relationship of our religious attitude? What is good? Good means that we must apply concretely the indications that we find in our Christian tradition. In particular, we have to imitate what Jesus Christ did in his life. What we call imitatio Christi is our light in our itinerary during, is our light in our itinerary during our life. We know that there are many religions, and St. John Paul II say to us that it happens according to God's will, and this is very important. If God creates all the people, he also wants that there are many religions, but all the people, but what have we to do in this situation? And he suggested us to receive other people belonging to the other religions, opening our arms and recognizing that they are all sons and daughters of God. This is very important. And it is also interesting that is from the Christian point of view that the interreligious dialogue began, because we Christians have this idea of the fraternity of all the people. Moreover, we can remember from a philosophical point of view what St. Augustine taught to us and what Edith Stein we know that Edith Stein is a woman philosopher and a saint of the church, the Christian church. And she said, according to Augustine, that the divine lives, is present in every human being, For this reason, it is possible to establish an interreligious dialogue, which is based on the fact that all the people have a sense of the sacred and the divine, even if someone denies it. It is possible to deny it because we are free and it is a possibility of our freedom, but really all the people have the sense of the sacred or the divine inside. And so we as Christians ought to show through our behavior, particularly through charity, that God is merciful with all the human beings, and Pope Franciscus highlights this point. This point is highlighted by Pope Franciscus. And then we have also to say that it is not to notice that it is not easy to perform the interreligious dialogue. But in this case, we are helped also by the book written by Sister Josmi, because she is aware of this, and for this reason, she insists on the formation of the young generation in order to open their mind to see that it is important to recognize the dignity is very, very important, of each human being, notwithstanding the religious and the cultural differences. And again, we can remember what Edith Stein told us about the human formation. This is also very interesting. The human formation from a theological, philosophical, psychological, social, and political point of view. She insisted on the formation of our capacity of evaluation and decisions, which are the spiritual attitudes of the human being, in order to perform what is indicated in our personal nucleus, she says, what is inside us. And she calls this personal nucleus, present in all the people in all the world, the soul of the soul. And in the soul of the soul, we find the presence of God. This is very, very important for an interreligious dialogue. So the goal that we have to mind is to gain, which is the goal, to gain peace and harmony, as Father Dr. Jose writes, referring to this book. For this reason, we thank the authoress of this book for her effort to show us the importance of such a dialogue, and we thank also Professor Dr. Michael Amaladoss and Dr. Jose. They helped us to understand better the content of this book, and I thank also the Faculty of Educational Sciences Auxilium in the person of the Dean, Professor Piera Ruffinato, and all the people who shared with us the pleasure to listen to this presentation. So I thank you very much, and many, many wishes to Sister Josmi. Perhaps she wants to say something at the end.
I just wanted to thank everyone, especially Dr. Angela Bello, for accepting this, being the moderator, and to read the entire book and give a review of it, and actually connecting with the philosophy, and especially with Edith Stein. It's really interesting to hear you. Thank you very much. And I feel very sorry that Father Amaladoss was not able to enter in connection, but I am very happy that he is watching us. He is following us in YouTube. Thank you. Once again, I express my sincere gratitude to all of you and all those who are present here and all those who are online. Thank you very much. Thank you.